Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking your virtual seats. We are going to give everyone a few minutes to trickle in, and very, very excited to welcome you to the F Factor. Seeing our numbers climbing, which is amazing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will get started in just one moment. Such an exciting day, the first day of International Women's Week. We'll give everyone one more minute as we have people trickling in. Looking forward to a great audience today. All right, as people continue to take their virtual seats, I think we are going to get started. So we will pull our cover screen down. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Sonia Shorey. I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President Strategy, Marketing and Communications for Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency for knowledge-based industries here in our region, and Bayview Yards, Ottawa's one-stop business acceleration shop. It is such a pleasure to welcome you to the official launch of the 3rd Annual International Women's Week and the F Factor, our launch event, Fueling Women Founders. Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards are honored to join our partners Elspark and MDK Business Law this year and welcome entrepreneurs, investors, thought leaders, and partners from our region, through Canada, and around the world to our virtual launch event today. Before we begin our special program, it is my pleasure to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Rita Alma, our new diversity and belonging lead and strategist for Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards, who will deliver our land acknowledgement for today. Thank you so much, Rita, for being with us.
Thanks so much, Sonia. Hi, everybody. As we're coming together today for the purpose of building and supporting women's leadership and entrepreneurship, it's important to approach this project with meaning and intention. This is why I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our work and the organization's presence on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Unceded means that these lands, which we now call Ottawa, were never signed away by the Anishinaabe people who inhabited them before European settlers arrived in North America. In other words, this land was stolen. I'm raising this as part of a personal commitment to truth and reconciliation, knowing that the first step is to admit the truth and that Indigenous leaders have been calling on non-Indigenous voices to help do so. The truth also means acknowledging the ways in which colonization and its effects are gendered, which is relevant to our event here today, as evidenced by the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women in this country, for example. Second, we acknowledge that the Algonquin Anishinaabe people are still here. Part of the intentions and effects of colonization are to erase the existence of Indigenous peoples, and we do this land acknowledgement to counter that force of erasure. Lastly, I'd like to call attention to another of colonization's effects, the intentional separation and marginalization of Indigenous people, which has meant that most settlers have little to no connections to Indigenous communities and knowledges. Being systematically separated from a whole group of people and a critical body of knowledge, especially in the time of climate emergency, is and continues to be a huge loss and poses a growing risk to our collective future. I'd love to ask us now to take a minute to scan your personal and professional circles. Ask yourself, who's missing? And how can I build meaningful connections with Indigenous people close to me and take just one action in the next week to reverse the damage and separation that colonization has caused? Let's take a moment of silence here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita, for being such an important part of our journey. We're honored to have you as a member of our team and our community. And International Women's Week truly is all about community. We were reflecting as we came onto the call today about how so many of us were gathered together at Bayview Yards 1 year ago, before the pandemic was a reality, exchanging hugs, kind words, support, and demonstrating commitment to a cause that we all believe in. We know that Ottawa, Canada's capital, is a global tech hub. It is also a resilient hub, as we join so many resilient hubs right across the country and around the world. Our region is founded on diverse top talent, and our region is committed to inspiring, equipping, and empowering women leaders in every professional field, from entrepreneurship and innovation to our Main Street, technology industry, academia, government, media, and nonprofits. And over the next 12 days, we will bring all of these strengths to bear together as a community for our community, and it is a global community. We are honored to collaborate with so many near and far who are committed to driving progress on our shared goals. We have more than 39 events, because there are several in the queue that our team is racing to get online, more than 50 partners, hundreds of participants currently registered, and we hope at the end there will be thousands. Our goal is to maximize our collective impact on current and aspiring women leaders from every walk of life, here and at home and around the world. Throughout this virtual International Women's Week, we're joining forces with friends and colleagues across Ontario, from Kingston to Toronto, Waterloo Region, and Windsor, from coast to coast, from St. John's, Newfoundland to Vancouver, BC, throughout the United States, from the Eastern Seaboard in Boston and New York to Minneapolis, Las Vegas, and Silicon Valley. Thank you for joining us and being such an important part of our journey. It will take women and men working together as a unified force to drive true change, meaningful change, and sustained change. This is at the heart of International Women's Week. It is not simply a series of events. It is a driver for long-term sustained change. And the objectives we are pursuing together have never been more important. We know the pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on women, particularly those from marginalized communities. This issue impacts all of us, our economy, our society, and our community. Recent research from McKinsey Global Institute shows that women make up 39% of global employment, but account for 54% of overall job losses. Taking action now to advance gender equality could add 13 trillion to global GDP by 2030, compared with the gender regressive scenario that is occurring now with the number of women who are considering leaving the workforce. Here in Canada, increasing the number of women entrepreneurs could add between 41 billion and 81 billion to our national economy, and increasing the minority entrepreneurs could have a similar effect. Together as an integrated and unified community, we believe we can leave our country and the world. Our team is committed to driving progress on this imperative with all of you, and it truly is a journey. We are proud to collaborate with so many champions and allies who join us today. This includes the entrepreneurs, innovators, firms, and other clients we are so proud to serve every single day at Invest Ottawa, and many members of our ecosystem, our board of directors, mentors, advisors, sponsors, partners, critical investors, including the City of Ottawa, the Province of Ontario, and the Government of Canada, including our friends at FedDev Ontario, and of course our team, the employees at Invest Ottawa and Bayview, who drive action on these goals every single day through the programs and services we deliver. Today, we come together for an afternoon of inspiration and actionable insight on a critical shared objective for us: to enable and accelerate the growth and success of women founders and women-owned business leaders from every walk of life. Together, we've established a bold vision. We want to be the best region in the world for women founders to launch, grow, and scale successful, sustainable, globally oriented companies. Companies that anchor and grow here in thriving business technology hub on our main streets and create a wealth of new jobs, attract capital, and take on the world. This includes the creation of Ottawa's first $100 million woman-owned and led business. It will take sustained collaboration to realize this vision, and our community is founded on it. You will experience this today and in many days ahead. It underpins our launch event. Welcome to the F Factor Fueling Women Founders. We are going to take a brief moment to walk through our agenda today, and we have prepared a few slides so that you know what is coming up. I am very honored to welcome in just a moment my good friend Shavhaspal McIntosh, who serves as our co-chair for our Women-Owned Business Subcommittee. We will then move into a presentation that will be delivered by Susan Richards and Michael Tremblay, providing an overview and an update on our journey. How are we at Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards progressing against our strategy, the targets and the goals we have set with all of you? And moving forward, we will then launch into our keynote panel discussion, the F Factor panel that brings together entrepreneurs, founders, and business leaders from here across our great ecosystem, led by my friend and colleague, Michelle Eunice, our Director of Venture Development. And then we will move into a fantastic virtual activity for those parents who have children that might need a little bit of infotainment. Big shout out to our friends at WeTech in Windsor for bringing forward this amazing idea. Yvonne, I hope you are with us. This is an opportunity for children to experience Little Ray's Critters, many of them, a great local business. If you need any support on registering, getting logged in, please drop something into the chat and we will take care of your youngsters. We want to make sure that all parents have an opportunity to enjoy our keynote presentation, which follows. At about 3:35, we are thrilled to welcome Mandela Schumacher Hodge Dixon, a leader out of Oakland, California, who delivers an amazing program called Founder Gym. We have worked for 3 years to bring her together with us in our ecosystem and could not be more thrilled. And that will wrap up our very exciting program for today. And then we have 12 days of integrated programming, something we've done very different this year with International Women's Week. We've looked at very specific challenges and opportunities with that pandemic lens for women founders, aspiring and current leaders right across our ecosystem in all equity-seeking groups. So we've got much more targeted and specialized content this year, thanks to the partners that have come together to deliver. This is just a sampling of some of the events that Invest Ottawa is really privileged to be engaged in and help to lead. Please visit our calendar, InvestOttawa/IWW, so that you have an opportunity to see the 39 events and growing and choose those that are meaningful to you and really gain great experience and impact from this week that we have assembled. Without further ado, I am going to hand the virtual mic over to our friend and colleague, Siobhan Haspel-McIntosh, who is the Global Diversity and Belonging Lead for Shopify. She's a director on our board, and she is the chair of our subcommittee. She is also a great friend to Invest Ottawa, Bayview, and our community. Thank you, Shav, for being with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. And thank you for that very generous introduction. So hello, everybody. My name is Siobhan, but everybody calls me Shav. And like Sonia said, I'm the Diversity and Belonging Senior Lead over at Shopify and have been a member of this amazing Invest Ottawa Bayview Yards team as a board member and co-chair of our Female Founder and Women-Owned Business Subcommittee since 2019. My entrepreneurship story runs deep, passed down through lineage from my great-grandparents to my grandparents to my parents and now to me. When my family first immigrated to Canada from Grenada, many of them chose the National Capital Region, Ottawa, as where they would call home and lay down their roots. Many of my family members turned to entrepreneurship as a way to thrive and as a means of survival. While there were many failed businesses along the way, over time and with the help and support of their community, they were able to create thriving businesses. And although they may not consider themselves entrepreneurs, that's exactly what they are. One of the many goals we're trying to accomplish here at Invest Ottawa is to disrupt the narrative that exists for so many entrepreneurs from underrepresented and underserved communities, ensuring that all people see themselves in entrepreneurship and consider it not just as a means of survival, but as an economically viable path to take and be supported along. The work that we're doing here at Invest Ottawa, with the support and guidance of the community and our entire ecosystem, is close to my heart, not just personally, but also as a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner. Our goal is not to just ensure that we're supporting and inspiring entrepreneurship across industries and at different phases of the entrepreneurial journey, so from startup to scale up, but we are doing the crucial work to ensure that we are supporting, we're doing the crucial work to ensure that when we say entrepreneur, it is inclusive of all people across all dimensions of diversity. When we say we're here to support women entrepreneurs and founders, it's from an intersectional lens that is inclusive of all women across race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, ability, socioeconomics, newcomer status. Nobody is going to get left behind. We have seen the research, the disproportionate impacts of the pandemic on women entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses, especially those from underrepresented and underserved communities. And more than ever, the work that we're doing here at Invest Ottawa and the work that we have ahead of us as a collective community is absolutely crucial. Now, this journey is not linear, and I'm not going to lie and stand up here and say that it's not without its challenges. But the team at Invest Ottawa is committed to doing the necessary work to address and disrupt systems of inequalities that exist for entrepreneurs from underrepresented and underserved communities. And we are engaging in this work for the long term. We're not just here for the short game, we're here for the long term. International Women's Week and our women-owned business strategy are just critical steps in supporting a broader diversity and equity and inclusion goals. This includes the public commitments that we made last summer to become a better ally and to actively address and fight against systemic racism. I won't go through all of the work that's being done, and you'll hear some more from Mike a little bit later in the programming. But I think it's important and really exciting just to go over a couple of points and a couple of steps that we have taken to those commitments that we made last summer. So we just heard from Rita Alba, who is our amazing diversity and belonging lead and strategist. She's really going to help us hit the ground running, and she already has done so much work already. She's going to ensure that the work that that's being done is equitable, scalable, and will create transformational and systemic change, not just surface level change. We're also working in collaboration with Lunaria, which is a woman-led and owned company that combines software with expert advice to create holistic diversity, equity, and inclusion solutions. Out of that collaboration, we have launched our first internal inclusion and equity and diversity survey. That's really going to help us guide the development of our internal strategy, the programs, and support targeted to the needs of our current and future workforce. Taking a data-informed approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion is essential, and we are applying that thinking not just in terms of understanding the areas of opportunity that exist internally, but also leveraging data to understand who our programs are reaching and who they are not. Like the saying goes, you have to know where you are to know where you need to go. And if we don't know where the gaps exist in terms of the reach of our programs, it will be impossible to build a strategy that identifies the opportunities to systematically engage entrepreneurs and firms from all equity-seeking groups. And in order to build and deliver programs and services that can actually help them grow and succeed and scale up. We are on a journey. We have a long way to go, and we are grateful to be on the path with the support of our community. Thank you to everyone for being a part of it, for sharing your ideas, your feedbacks, your suggestions. We are going to emerge from this pandemic stronger and more resilient as a community. I'm sure of this. Thank you all for making the time to be here today. Thank you to the phenomenal team at IO for building an amazing 12 days of programming, and to all of the amazing partners who worked to bring this to life. And now I will pass the virtual mic back over to Sonia.
Thank you so much, Shav, and our heartfelt thanks. Our entire team is so grateful for all of the time, expertise, and experience you invest in us, as if you were an extended member of your team. I'm certain that you're on our payroll. I am absolutely certain. We share you with Shopify. Thank you so, so much.
No problem.
It's now my privilege to call forward our co-chair of Invest Ottawa, Susan Richards. She is also the founder and CEO of Number Crunch. She is going to kick off the opening of our journey, and that will be followed by our CEO, Michael Tremblay. Susan, over to you.
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for kicking us off in such a fine way. First of all, can I be heard well? Looks like, thank you, Sonia. Great. Welcome, everybody, to the season of celebrating our progress in forging a more gender-balanced world. International Women's Day, or week, or month, really, is where we're headed, is for celebrating the achievements of women and for calling for gender parity. The rise of women is not about the fall of men. Gender balance is not solely a women's issue, it's also an economic issue. Advocacy, inclusion, and mindsets, tangible action are needed from all. Many societies have moved on from women having to succeed in a man's world. Stereotypes are being challenged, and diverse representation of women is more evident. There is still a continuing need worldwide for more progressive mindsets and inclusive behaviors to be forged. Collectively, everyone everywhere can strive for women's equality and continue to make positive gains. We are moving to exciting times in history where the world now expects equity, expects diversity, expects inclusion. And now it's all up to us to choose to challenge and consistently commit to call out inequity. Studies from McKinsey and Company, Lean-In.org, Stats Canada, and one of IO's great sponsors, RBC, and others are helping us to understand the impacts of COVID-19 on women. Women, especially women of color, are 3 times more likely to have been laid off or furloughed during the COVID-19 crisis, stalling their careers and jeopardizing their financial security. Women aged 35 to 39 are exiting the labor force in droves, and the statistics show the explanation is motherhood. Mothers with children under 6 account for 2/3 of the ensuing exits from the labor force. Mothers are more than 3 times as likely as fathers to be responsible for most of the housework and caregiving. In fact, they're 1.5 times more likely than fathers to be spending up to 3 hours more per day on housework and childcare, equivalent to 20 hours a week or half of a full-time job. Meanwhile, for the 1 in 5 mothers who don't live with a spouse or partner, the challenges are even greater. And the situation is worse for women of color who are twice as likely to be handling all childcare and housework for their families. Worry and fear is at an epidemic proportion for women. Mothers are more than twice as likely as fathers to worry about the performance and in the way in that it's being judged negatively because of caregiving responsibilities. They're also far more likely to feel uncomfortable sharing work-life challenges with colleagues. Mothers are twice as likely to be thinking one of us has to quit our job or close our business than fathers. Senior level women have a vast and meaningful impact on a company's culture. They are more likely than senior level men to embrace employee-friendly policies and to champion racial and gender diversity. Over 50% of senior level women say they consistently take a public stand for gender and racial equity at work, a 25% higher rate than senior level men. And they're more likely to mentor and sponsor 1 or more women of color. 38% of senior level women currently mentor or sponsor 1 or more women of color, which is a 65% higher rate than that of senior level men. Women entrepreneurs are also experiencing greater challenges than their male counterparts because their businesses are less likely to have been adequately financed to begin with. They're less likely to meet the qualifying criteria of COVID-19 funding programs, and they're more likely to be operating in the sectors that were the greatest hit by the pandemic. And most of these issues are amplified for racialized, Indigenous, and immigrant women, as well as those with disabilities. So for all of us, there are some 6 key areas where companies can focus or expand efforts to help. Number 1, make work more sustainable. 2, reset norms around flexibility. 3, take a close look at performance reviews. 4, take steps to minimize gender bias. 5, adjust policies and programs to better support employees. And 6, strengthen employee communication. Ottawa companies have demonstrated a growing commitment to gender diversity over the past 5 years. Community leaders across Ottawa have been coming together like never before to inspire, educate, amplify, and take the stage in support of greater equity for all. That commitment is more important than ever right now. If we rise to the moment with continued bold action, we can protect hard-won gains in gender diversity and build the foundations for a better workforce long after COVID-19 is behind us. Now I'd like to hand the virtual mic over to Mike to tell us more about the journey at IO and share some great information about our progress to date.
I think you're on mute. There we go, the classic tagline of 2020.
This is why I was asking if you could hear me okay. Thanks so much. I do want to start off by thanking our speakers so far, and just a couple of acknowledgements. So firstly, Sonia, you've been such a champion for us on this mission that I just can't thank you enough for getting us to this level. You and your team as well for International Women's Week. I know that Katie Leclerc has been hugely active in this, as has Jess Ward behind the scenes helping us even with today's event. And of course, the whole marketing communications team, an absolute machine in getting the word out. So I do want to thank you for that. And for Rita, who has become my personal coach to ensure that I am on point for understanding how to look around corners when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and belongingness. Thanks for your mentorship and coaching. It's really meant the world to me. I appreciate that very much. I'd also like to thank Shav. Her opening comments have been absolutely fantastic. And Shav has been with us almost from the start, not quite from the start, but almost from the start. But her impact has been with us every single day since she's joined on to help us out with the directions that we needed to go in as a company. And then, of course, Susan, our steady co-chair with the mayor of the city of Ottawa. We are so blessed to have you with us. You are inspiring. You are a true leader in our community. Thank you for all that you do for us. So I have a number of things that I want to talk to you about this afternoon. And I'm going to lead into sharing with you some of the by the numbers on how we're performing as a region. And it's a journey. I want everybody to know that this is like a few steps in. We've got a long way to go here, but we have come a fair distance, and I do want to make sure we acknowledge a bit of that. So to begin with, our company set out a vision. It's almost 4 years ago now. I've been with the company now 4 years. Our vision was a bit ambitious, but as a city of 1 million people, if you want to get somewhere, you really do have to be clear in your direction. So we picked our words pretty wisely and carefully. We wanted to enable Ottawa to achieve its full potential as a globally recognized, future-focused region. And we wanted to use words like that because, if you're going to achieve the full potential of your region, you have to bring everyone with you. This can't be around one group or another. If you do want to have impact, you really do have to think about the organization that is coming with you and the community that you're with. And so part of that ambition was to make sure that as a company, we were giving everyone that opportunity to move forward. And last year I talked a little bit about my 2 daughters and my son. I've got 2 daughters, one of which is a Shopify. She's become a dev actually, and she started off as an artist and loved that. And the creative side of that found its way into building the creative side of Shopify websites. Now she's doing the dev side, all self-taught. My middle daughter is in astrophysics at Carleton. She's 10 feet above me in the control room working on her studies right now. And then my son as well, who is 15. He's a hockey player in normal periods. And, I want him to grow up in an environment where he feels and understands the importance of equity and fairness and diversity, and that he's part of it. So these events shouldn't be just with women. These events should be with all of us to lift all of us forward. I was very fortunate as a young boy. 6, 7 years old. I had such ambition, and I had no headwinds, 0 headwinds. I could go in any direction I wanted to. I did not feel constrained in any way. And I would wish that for anyone that has ambition and has drive. And we should all come together to help support those bold ambitions and give people what they need to be able to move things forward. So 4 years ago, we set out on ambition, and I think that we've made some progress. One of the first things we did is we listened carefully to what was happening around us. And we knew that the plan we put in place was a good plan, but it wasn't perfect. And we knew that we needed to lean in more in terms of the governance of how our business works. And so we did introduce a subcommittee of our board. You see the members on the screen. I think we're all looking at the same screen at this moment. 3 of our board members are on the slide, but everyone on this chart has been with us for several years, helping us, not just attending board meetings, but leaning in and doing the hard work that it takes every week, every month to advance the cause. And I couldn't be more grateful for the advice and the engagement that you've had with our community. And so for that, we'll always be grateful. So I want to move now to the next piece. I'm gonna run through a series of numbers. First framing, of course, the goals that we'd set out. Early on, of course, we wanted to ensure that we established a basic foundation for success. And part of that is to make sure that you're talking to the right audiences and you're creating a pipeline of opportunity for those that have ambition. And also when I think about things like even our board and our board governance, if you want to make sure that you're covering the market in the appropriate way, you need to have a governance structure that actually is active in that respect. And we do have a balanced board at this stage. And we have a balanced board without compromise. We have an incredibly strong board, just happens to be half men and half women. And I believe there's room for some years having more women, some years possibly having a few more men. But the power of having a diverse board has really shown up in the programming we've been doing for several years now. So I'm very proud of that. And I think it's an important part of having a foundation and the ambition that we've been talking about this afternoon. The second part is, and I will share the numbers with you, but we had an intention last year coming into this year to do a full assessment of our market end to end. We usually do this with the city every 4 to 5 years in order to get a very good comprehensive view of what's happening on the ground in our city. Now, with the pandemic, we've had to defer that. We do have the opportunity of having a census happen during the course of this year, which will help to fold into some of the research that we need to do. But I want everyone to know that our intention is to have a very strong baseline. Shav mentioned that in her opening comments. If you want to know where you're going to go, you really have to have a good grounding on where you are in order to fill in and deal with those gaps. And so we do have an intention to do this. But we need to do this when we get into a period where we have a more normalized economy, which is coming. And then finally, of course, and this is very much a North America-wide event this week, isn't it? When you heard back how many people we have outside of the region, we do have ambition for our programming. And I think if in some small way we're inspiring other regions to get behind this notion of giving everyone opportunity, I can tell you that means the world to me and my colleagues. And so that's how we view this. Let's move to some of the numbers now. We'll touch on strategy a little bit and then we'll get into numbers. So everything that, yeah, you can go back. So everything on this slide is so well represented in the 39 events that we have over the next 10 days. There is a 40th event. I want you to know last year we had 40 events, but I can't announce the 40th one yet. We got confirmation Sonia and I Friday night. I can tell you it's really exciting and we will get it on the board, I'm hoping within a week. We're just working out the finishing details, but I will tell you that it'll be March 29th. So this is now officially International Women's Month. So we are very excited to share the details of that in the coming days. But our goal for the work that we do is very much in evidence in all of the programming you'll see this week in promoting and putting a spotlight on women, providing educational experiences, opportunities for mentorship, and the connections that really make things happen. And so the strategy is all built into a very strong immersive website that we have. You can get to it right from the Invest Ottawa website, tools and resources, and it's constantly being built up. So the strategy we have is one that is for the long haul. So we are in this for the long haul, and you'll see these resources continue to build. Okay, let's go to the numbers. And I'm very excited to share these. So despite a pandemic, you look at our Pre-Accelerator programming, and what this is a 10-week boot camp. I think we're calling for our 11th cohort right now, where we help to prepare those with ideas and companies that are just at the start to be equipped to be able to take advantage of the accelerator programming that we do have. And so when you think about where we are right now, we have an average of 37% of participants are either co-led by women or led by women, which is actually quite significant. 11 of the 20 pitch competition awards have actually been connected to founders or co-led by women. 55% on average between the 2 years that we've done it this way. And last year at this time, we were finishing off our health tech program. So we had the first vertical pre-accelerator on health tech. 69% of the final pitch competition were actually delivered by women, which is really significant. And it's gratifying to see this because it happens with intentionality and it happens with persistence and continued focus. So that's our pre-accelerator. And I do want to take a moment just to thank Erin Siegmiller for her work on the IO Pre-Accelerator. She also has done an enormous amount of work on the She-Boot programming as well. So thank you, Erin, for your effort in making this work come alive for us. Let's move to the next one, please. So 12 of the IO Accelerator tech companies, so this is in our full accelerator program now, are either led or co-led by women. 19% seems like a low number, but it is a significant improvement. It's a 50% improvement. Again, you're not gonna see these seismic changes happen with snapping fingers. This is consistent focus. Almost half our coaches and mentors now are women. And that matters as well in ensuring that we have an environment that is supportive and conducive and attractive to women-owned founders. So very, very important progress in that. And I do want to thank Michelle Eunice for her focus and her energy with the Invest Ottawa Accelerator programming. You really make a difference. It's great to have you with us in your leadership position. So let's move to the next one. Just to give you a sense of the companies that are actually part of the 12, these are they. Hyperion is actually acquired Tandem Technical this past year. But these are all great companies, leadership companies, companies that help our other companies in our accelerator programming. All right, so we're going to move to the next one. So the next one is, I think, really important. And this was really illuminating for all of us at Invest Ottawa. So Digital Main Street is programming that was introduced by FedDev Ontario as a strategy that they wanted to invest in. It picks up on some work that had been done in Toronto for a number of years. And what it does is it helps companies that are traditional companies, bricks and mortar companies, to move into more of the digital age and to future-proof their businesses through periods like a pandemic. And so the work that has gone in here has been absolutely enormous. And this builds on a lot of the work that we've done in the past with something called the Small Business Enterprise Center. That's led by Paula Hopkins. She's, I think, on the line with us today. She's done just a brilliant job. We actually run the largest small business enterprise center in the province, which equipped us beautifully for going after the Digital Main Street programming and making sure that we delivered a ton of value with that. And so let me share a couple of numbers. So the percentages don't really tell the whole story. So the first part of it is on DMS future proofing, which is a lot of the coaching and mentoring we provide as value added. 70% self-identified as women leaders. That's 492 companies out of 701. Like these are big numbers that we're dealing with here. I knew the number would be significant. I didn't know that it would be 70%. Second is around completed Digital Main Street digital transformation projects. These are things like adding a Shopify channel to your business. 69% self-identify as women. This is 158 companies out of 229 took the plunge and went with it, which is really exciting. The third one down, digital transformation pipeline, 71% as identified as women leaders. That's 393 out of 550 companies. Like this is a big pipeline. And then finally, looking at sole proprietor clients in the Digital Main Street digital transformation project pipeline. Again, things like how do I take advantage of e-commerce capability and to make sure you're visible on searches, that kind of thing. 78% identified as women. That's 155 out of 198 companies. That's a big deal. So very, very proud of the work that the team has been doing in partnership with partners across the province Communitech, Tabia, and others. It's been a great partnership, and it's having real impact. So thank you for that. Move to the next one. Starter Company Plus, the BIPOC program. This one is also a very it was illuminating for us because we hadn't really studied the numbers before. So doing things by the numbers, keeping track, understanding the impacts, really important. So Starter Company Plus really helps to support organizations as they move through. They get a lot of mentorship, they get some grant money. And so let me just run through some of the outcomes here. So the first one, 61% identifying as women owned. That's 56 of 91 companies. These are the applications, which is gratifying. That's a good number. The second is around participants that got into the program. 64% self-identify as women as the leaders. The third one on the grants piece, the grants are $2,500 each. And so 62% of the grant recipients self-identify as women. And when you look at the awards that have been put out, so as of February, 45K went out, and we'll be able to get that up to 90K by the end of March. And that, so 18 companies leading to the 45K, and we'll be doubling that by the end of March. So significant focus, the coaching, the mentorship, all of the effort in behind this takes a lot of time and effort, but every minute of it is worth it. And that'll move us then to, actually, just before I leave the starter company piece, I did want to recognize Patty Ip for her leadership and her work in that area. All right, so let's move to the final one. And so this is funding for women in our Main Street Entrepreneurs program. So this is the core Starter Company Plus program. Again, roughly similar numbers to 2019. So roughly flat, but the majority are grants that are going to women-owned businesses for the two periods. And so very gratifying to see this work happen. Going forward, we want to do this by the numbers, so we are going to be establishing a baseline. That's probably a 9-month effort, and so it'll probably begin sometime earlier in 2022. But I do want to take a moment to, again, acknowledge all of the great work, not just by our own team, but by the community. This isn't possible with our little team alone. We have gotten here because of the incredible participation and engagement by our partners across the community, and we're very grateful for that engagement level and that support. Thank you very much.